Hi, good morning, all. This is Vishal Singhal from Cellstat, your host for today. We have today Mr. Amit Gupta, co-founder AI Edge, an AI product company. He will be telling more about it soon. This session is being recorded, so it will be made live on our YouTube channel. I'll share the link of in a few minutes. And I suggest you should ask a lot of questions to him. He's an expert in this domain, as they are making a lot of products in this area. And we'll try to answer all of them while they are being asked. But in the interest of time, if we see too many questions, we'll be taking them all towards the end. So I'm handing over the presentation to Amit. Go ahead. Go ahead, Amit.
Yep. Good morning, all. So can you, Vishal, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So good morning, everybody. As Vishal said, my name is Amit, and I run a startup called AI Edge. So we are going to talk about computer vision, an introduction to what computer vision is. So let's start with what is the objective of this session. This is just a 1 hour session, so of course we will not get into too much of detail, but what we will try to understand is why is computer vision difficult. Okay. A simple neural network, how does it identify a pattern, or how does it identify an object? Um, on the other hand, why does a simple neural network fail to identify complex patterns? And we will try to see how CNN is able to solve some of those problems and is able to identify complex patterns. So when we discuss this concept of neural network, we will try to understand this in a very conceptual manner. We will not try to make it mathematical. We'll try to understand what actually goes inside a CNN or a neural network without getting too much into details of mathematics behind it. The reason is that it's very easy to write a mathematical equation, but why that mathematical equation is being written, that theory behind that process is many times misunderstood or not understood. So in this 1 hour session, our core focus is to have a conceptual or theoretical understanding of how CNN works. Now, part of the computer vision is image processing. So CNN, we all may have heard that it can identify faces, it can identify various objects, and so on and so forth. But what people don't understand is a lot of image processing goes on before a CNN comes into picture. So we will talk about image processing aspect as well as part of this session. So normally what happens is image processing is done before, and neural networks work starts after the image processing is done. But we will swap the sequence for this session because we want to spend little more time on CNN. And if time is short, I can still rush through image processing aspect. But CNN part is more important. So just for this session's structure, we will do CNN first, image processing later. So if all of you are familiar with neural network to some extent, this will help. If you are not familiar with neural network, it will be a little bit difficult, but I think you will still be able to take away some concept of what computer vision is. So that was the objective. The way I have structured this session is I will very quickly introduce about myself and my company, and then we'll straight away go to, what is computer vision, how to identify object using computer vision, and what is image processing, right? And then we can have Q&A, but as Vishal said, during the session, particularly during the neural network or CNN session, if you have question, please raise your hand, put up your question. We will, I will try to address that. Give me a second. I'll just remove my video. So I run a company called AI Edge, and we are into B2B space. So we provide business solutions for companies using AI, ML, and computer vision. Primarily, we focus on digitization. And so using digitization, we optimize companies' operation, etc., etc. So we have 3 products. One product is called Digital Sense Form. So it's a robotic extraction of information from documents. So this solution automatically detects presence of various meaningful elements in a document, such as picture, signature, Aadhaar number, text, etc., etc., and automatically extracts them, summarizes them, and passes on to other systems. Digital Sense Mask is another product built on the same platform, which masks automatically detects any sensitive information like date of birth or Aadhaar number on a document and masks it. Digital Sense Search is to do enterprise search. So typically companies have a lot of documents like legal contracts, and people want to find out, where is my SOW, which we signed 3 years back and is about to expire. So this particular product, Digital Sense Search, helps companies in finding those kind of documents. And we also do some services. These are some of the leaders which we have. Myself, Amit, Alok is in US. Both of us are from IIT Kharagpur. Mr. Madhav Reddy has been CEO in several companies like Calcutta Stock Exchange in the past. And Sayan is also in US. He's a scientist with Microsoft, so he's an advisor to us. This is a very brief introduction about myself and what AI Edge is. Now we straight away go to what is computer vision. So we know we are all intelligent. We have capabilities such as we are self-aware, we have cognitive skills, we can perceive things, we can see, we can listen, we can pay attention, we have memory, we have emotions, feeling, creativity, and so on and so forth, right? We have all of these. But today we are going to talk about only the vision part of it. So what do we see in this picture? So most of us, even a kid, will be able to tell us that there are people, there's a tree, there is a carpet, there are some food items, etc. But even a kid will also be able to tell us that there's a picnic, right? So it's not just a visual identification of pattern which we are able to do. We are also able to make sense out of this picture. We are able to say, hey, this is picnic, right? This is what is human vision is. Now let's see what computer vision is. In case of computer vision, computer sees everything in zeros and ones, right? We all know that. So it knows a lot of detail very well. It knows color much more precisely than we can detect colors. It can know position of a pixel very precisely than our eyes can detect. But when it comes to abstraction, when it comes to deriving meaning from such image, a computer fails, right? And that is where computer vision as a field comes in the picture. So what computer vision is, it's a field that deals with um, how we understand, how a computer can understand and understand meaning from a given picture, right? So it involves two broad areas. One area is image processing. So a lot of image processing goes on before we can, using computer, we can take meaning out of it. And the second aspect is machine learning or AI or neural network, right? So it's an overlap of image processing and machine learning. So to be very clear, even the image processing and machine learning overlap is not sufficient to come to at par with what we humans are capable of. Like, as I said, we can identify it's a picnic going on. Even today's computer vision will not be able to tell you that. So there is a hope that the third circle at the bottom, which is general AI and AI which can kind of do everything intelligent which we do, we will be able to do that. So that's a third circle at the bottom is a hope. But what we are today is top two circles, image processing and machine learning. So we will discuss image processing and machine learning in the subsequent sections. First, we will learn machine learning, conceptual part of it, and then we'll go to image processing. So let's see identifying objects. So this is the machine learning part of it, how to identify object. We are not yet talking about deriving meaning out of it, just identify a pattern, right? So if you have a letter written O, right? So this O on the left-hand side of the screen is nothing but pixels in computer world, correct? So if you think logically, if computer has to identify this image as O, all we have to do is take each pixel value and feed those pixel values into an equation. And that equation should be able to tell us that it is O or some other object, right? The problem here is, although the concept is very simple and intuitive, the problem here is that we don't know what that equation is. What equation will take those pixel values as input and output O, we don't know that equation. So that's where neural network comes in the picture. So I'm hoping that all of you already are familiar with neural network and neurons, but still very briefly, a neuron is a small computer program which takes set of inputs x1, x2, x3, x4, x2, xn. So n input it takes as an input, multiplies them with weights. So w, which you see, those are weights. It multiplies the input to the weight. So input is just a numerical value. Weight is also just a numerical value. So multiplies input and weight, sums them up. And if that sum is greater than something, which is called bias, then it gives certain output. If the sum is less than bias, then it gives some other output. So this is a very simple concept, which we call neurons in computer world. And what is neural network? Where we connect multiple neurons to form a network, right? So if you see, let me just draw a line. So this part is nothing but if there is an object which is, let's say, 28 by 28 pixel size, then we have arranged 784 neurons on the first layer, and there are some n number of neurons on the second layer, and there are 10 neurons on the third layer. So this is a very simple, basic neural network. Most of you will be familiar with it. What it does is it is able to automatically identify that it is a letter O, so or letter 0. So in this case, this particular neuron will give an output as yes. Other neurons will give output as no, right? So this is how very simply a neural network works, and this is not a session of neural network, so I will not go into more details of it. Now I'm getting into a slightly different concept, which is important for CNN, which is called feature, right? I think those who are familiar will know what features are, but there's no well-defined concept and we can't really visualize what features are. So we will try to visualize what features are here. So if you have a letter O or 0, which is an image, give me a second, please.
So audience, I'll encourage if you want to ask any question any moment of time, you can. Although there may be some people who understand this, some people who won't. So
Okay.
take full advantage of Amit's presence here. He can explain if things are not clear.
Yeah, I fully agree with Vishal. So please raise your hand if you're not clear. I'll try to clarify. So I'm going to talk about what this feature is. So just now, very briefly, we saw that there is a image of letter O, and using neural network, we are trying to identify that it is letter O or letter 0, right? So what neural network internally does, and nobody has seen inside of the neural network, so this is a theory. So what neural network internally does is try to find different parts of the image. So this is one part of the image, this is another part of the image, this is another part of the image, and so on. And then it tries to combine those parts and try to make sense of it, that whether it is looking like 0 or something else. So these different parts are called features. So whenever we talk about feature in the subsequent slide, just assume certain sub pattern of a given image which neural network is trying to identify internally. Then just erase these and move to next one. So other way to look at feature is if this is the image of a building which we are trying to identify using neural network, then feature will look like this box A, which is nothing but a blue sky, another box C, which is nothing but another part of a building. So feature can be anything. Feature can be an angle, feature can be a straight line, it can be a vertical line, horizontal line, it can be a grid. So within neural network, which nobody has gone inside neural network and seen, but we think within neural network, it identifies various such patterns like angles, straight lines, horizontal lines, etc., which we call features. So far we have seen how a neural network conceptually at a very high level identifies a very simple image such as letter 0 or letter O. Now suppose we have to identify more complex objects. So we have a chair, we have a building or a house, and we have a face, right? And chair is very clear, it's just a chair. Building has a lot of other things like trees. Even the face has a lot of other background images. Now what happens is that the simple neural network which we have seen, fails to detect pattern in these kind of complex images, right? So why it fails and what we can do about it. And this is where the feature comes into picture. So this is a very interesting slide if you pay attention to it. So what happens is, suppose we want to, let me go back. Suppose we want to identify face in the third image on the right? Then what should neural network do to identify the face? It should first try to find out, is there an eye in the top left, right? Is there a like this? Is there a eye, the top right? Is there a nose in the middle? Is there a mouth at the bottom? Is there a hair at the top? So in other words, the neural network has to be designed in such a way that it should be able to identify these features of a face. If neural network can identify these features of a face, then hopefully neural network can combine them together and tell us that, hey, there is a face in this image, right? Now let's go to another level of this. So here we are looking at features of features. So, okay, there is an eye at the top left, but what is eye? Eye is nothing but a set of other sub features, right? So is there an eyebrow? Is there an eyelash? Is there an iris? So all these combined together becomes a eye, right? So what we are seeing is that that unless we redesign our first neural network, which we saw pictorially, which can identify these features, we will not be able to identify complex things like a face. So there are two concepts emerges here. One is feature. Second is hierarchy of the feature. So we should be able to join sub-level feature into a higher level feature, and finally higher level feature into our detected image, right? Therefore, people thought of this idea. So thought, let's have much deeper neural network. We will have several layers of neurons in the middle and not just one level of neuron in the middle. Why we thought this idea will work is, we thought that, let's say, this one is nothing but input pixels coming from the image, right? So we hope that this layer will be able to identify low level features, okay? Then we hope that this layer will be able to identify higher level features. Then we hope that this level will be able to join together higher level features into hierarchies. And finally, we have final layer which can tell us whether face is present or not. So this is the idea behind creating a deep neural network. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so after having created a deep neural network, what people found is that it still didn't work. It was not able to identify complex situations like face or chair or a house. And additionally, what was found is that deep neural network has other practical problems. So there are too many weights for each of the neurons. There are too many connections between layers to layers to layers. There are too many parameters in a summary. There are too many parameters to fine tune. And vanishing gradient problem, exploding gradient problem, unstable gradient problem. So if you know training methodologies, you will know these terms. We'll not get into detail of these terms. but sufficient it is to say that DNN did not work well and also had practical problems. So what do we do? So what people thought is there's something missing in DNN, which is not helping us in finding or detecting face. And one idea which came out is something called spatial. So spatial, S-P-A-T-I-A-L, is a term which means that something to do with space. So if you have two-dimensional space or three-dimensional space, if there is something which relates to a space, it is called spatial. Now, what people realized is that DNN is independent of spatial features or spatial structure. So let me explain what it means. So you have here a picture of this girl, and we want to identify the face of this girl. Now let's look at part of this image, this part. So in this part, we can say there is a curtain, there is a frame, there is a window, there's a person's head, etc. So we all know, actually, we don't think about it, but we all know that all the pixels in this small area, they are related. So if you take this pixel from here and put it here, it won't make sense, right? So the location of the pixel here with respect to its neighbor has meaning. Okay, the way the pixels are put together creates meaning, right? Same concept we can understand by looking at our jigsaw puzzle, where if you put all the pieces together in proper place, then you can see a good image. If you don't put the pieces of jigsaw puzzle together in right place, then we don't get a good image. So what it tells us that, okay, pixels are pixels, but their position in relation to their neighbors has a lot of meaning to it. On the other hand, if you look at the DNN design, what it does is this input layer takes pixel from image. So this all are nothing but pixel values coming from image directly. And if you look at, let's say, this neuron, this one, so this is connected to all of them, right from top to bottom. So if there are 700 input pixels here, 700, then this particular neuron will take input from all 700 previous layers or input layers neuron, right? Similarly, this one. So what is happening here is, by design, the way DNN has been designed here, this pixels is getting influenced by each one of them, right? So that means this pixel, whatever it does, this neuron, whatever it does, is not worried about how you put the jigsaw puzzle in a proper sequence. It takes all all pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together as an input and tries to process it. So this told us, sorry, let me go back there again. So this told us that unless we redesign DNN, which gives a special treatment to pixels who are nearby, like the frame and curtain example, and ignores pixels which are not nearby, we may not be able to succeed. Okay, so with this as background, we will go to CNN. So this is what CNN is. The key idea of CNN is that we take into account spatial features of a given image, and we don't treat each and every pixels equally. Of course, there are other ideas like solve some of the training related problems of DNN, but those are secondary ideas. The primary idea is how do we take into account the spatial features of a picture. So let's see how it does. So there are three concepts which makes sure that CNN compared to DNN takes a spatial feature into account. First one is called local receptor field. Second one is shared weights and bias, and third one is pooling. So again, we are going to see all three of them at a conceptual level without getting into mathematics of it. So let's see what is local receptor field is. So we just saw that DNN does not work when we try to identify a face because it ignores a spatial structure of image and it gives equal value to each and every pixel. So to solve that problem, we introduce local receptor field. So in local receptor field, what we do is, first of all, let me see again, this layer, you see it's a flat layer. So although an image is a 2D image, so 28 by 28 image, let's as an example, so 700 odd neurons will come in the input layer here. It's a flat structure. So first change which we do is we start designing the next network in a 2D structure. So this is a 2D structure. It's a 28 by 28. So not in a flat structure. So input layer will be a 2D layer now. Okay. Second, what we do is this neuron, which is connected to each and every neuron of the first layer. So second layer neuron is connected to each and every neuron of the first layer. We change that philosophy and we make the hidden layer 1 neuron connect to only this 5 by 5 region in the image. So this 5 by 5 region or 3 by 3 region or 7 by 7 region, this is a matter of design. This is called local receptor fields. So what happens is the second layer or the hidden layer neuron here sees not the full image, but only the part of the image. Okay, so it's not bogged down by every detail everywhere else. It sees only a small part of the image. So similarly, in the original picture, the way it will, second layer or the hidden layer 1 will see only this part of the image. Okay, this is called local receptor field. So this is the first introduction how we are removing the equality of all neuron and bringing in spatial features. Let me erase this. So so this big grid which you see is, let's say, representation of the first layer, which is input layer. The three colored boxes, orange, light blue, little darker blue, are possible three receptor fields. But this design has a problem. Suppose there is an important feature which is present here, which is between two receptor field. This is first receptor field, this is second receptor field, and we have a good feature which is present in the image here. Now, if we do this design, obviously it won't work because the feature is getting divided into two separate receptor fields, right? So what we do is we do slightly different way. So we take first receptor field and as an input from the input. So left hand box is input layer and right hand box is first hidden layer. We take input of first receptor field in orange and we put it here. We just put it here. This is the output which goes to this, connected to this neuron in the hidden layer, right? Then what we do is we slide the receptor. We create another receptor field. So this second receptor field is 1 pixel right, and that is connected to this particular pixel in the third pixel from left in hidden layer. And we keep creating new receptor fields one by one, so that we cover each and every part of the input image. So you can see, you can easily visualize now. Let's see again. Here you go, here you go. So in the end, what will happen is the green shaded region on the right. So right side is your hidden layer. On the green shaded region will have connection to its own receptor field in the input layer. So this is how it will look like. So earlier in the left hand side, if you see, that is a DNN where a hidden layer 1, each and every neuron is connected to each and every neuron of input layer. Whereas on the right hand side, which is CNN, a particular neuron on the hidden layer is connected to only to its receptor field, which is 5 by 5. In this example, it can be anything else. So any question from anybody? Vishal, do you see any questions so far?
None so far. Go ahead. Your
Okay.
explanation is pretty good actually.
All right. So let's move ahead. So this is, so remember we talked about CNN, how deals with a spatial feature of an image. And I said there are 3 things which takes care of a spatial feature: local receptor field, which we just explained at a very conceptual level. Second thing which we are going to do is now shared weights and bias. Okay. So this is related to local receptor field. But what it does is it does a very profound thing. So try to understand as clearly as possible. So you have one hidden layer neuron here. Let me just bring the drawing again. So you have one hidden layer neuron here, and this guy takes input from its own receptor field, local receptor field, which is 5 by 5. So what we do in shared weight and bias is, okay, before that, so for this particular hidden layer neuron and this receptor field, how many weights will be there? There will be 5 weights, right? 5 into 5, 25 weights. And how many bias will be there? 1 bias, because this, we're talking about only one neuron here in the hidden layer. So we have 1 bias with respect to this particular neuron and 25 weights, right? So what we do in shared weight and bias concept is, no matter what hidden layer neuron is, the weights and bias are kept same, exactly same. So
I have a question here,
sure,
Amit.
yeah,
First question is how these concepts apply to textual data,
okay.
and second is in CNN is accuracy dependent on matrix length, like 5 by 5 is more accurate than 10 by 10.
Okay.
So
So
these
let me answer the second one first. Okay.
okay.
So this receptor field size, the CNN designer has to choose. So let's go to one slide before. Okay, fine. So let me explain without slide. So so suppose you are trying to detect a face. Okay. And, and and you judge that your image, the face has, I think somebody is having some noise from background. Part of work from home, I guess. So let's come back to the question from Vishal. So suppose you have a face which you are trying to detect, and based on intuition, you judge that there are 20 features which will make your face, okay? And then you judge that those 20 features size will be of X by X size. So that is kind of gives an indication to whether you should have 5 by 5 or 7 by 7 or 3 by 3, right? But this is just an indication. Remember, neural network is not a science, it's a lot of art. So based on how many features you have in your images and what are the sizes of the feature, you can determine the size of the receptive field, but there's a lot of experiment goes in that. That's the second question, how these concepts apply to textual data. So in case of textual data, these concepts don't apply much actually. In case of textual data, what happens is even the basic neural network, the first one which we saw, can detect text very well. But accuracy will be little low. So let's say kind of 90%. So from at a concept level, we don't need too much of a spatial feature to be built in for us to be successful. So answer is no, but if you want to increase accuracy from 90 to 99, that is where these concepts still apply and CNN comes into picture. I hope I have clarified, Vishal. So let's move ahead in the interest of time.
Sure. And what about second question? I have already messaged you. You can see there.
Actually, I said that second question first, but let me again say quickly. So depending upon how many features you have in an image, so suppose face you are trying to recognize and you have 20 features in face. So depending upon how many features you have and what is the size of typical feature, you can judge what should be the size of receptor field, whether it is 5 by 5 or 7 by 7 or 3 by 3. It's always even by even, but will not go into detail of why. I think some of you can easily guess. But having said that, this is an art. This is not a science. So there is no direct correlation between what is how to determine the size of the receptor field. A lot of experiment goes on. You try 5 by 5, doesn't work. Try 7 by 7, doesn't work. So a lot of experiment you have to do. It can't be 10 by 10, Vishal. It has to be even by even. So it can be 11 by 11. The simple reason is that we want this middle one. We want a middle. Why we need 5 by 5? Because we want a middle guy. Unless it is 5 by 5, we can't get a middle guy, or 7 by 7, we can't get a middle guy. We want this middle guy to correspond to this guy. So that's the reason why we take 7 by 7 or 5 by 5. So I hope broadly I have answered your question, Vishal.
Yeah, another one is some.
Okay, what is that? Let me see.
On the message it's there. How do multiple filters help?
Okay. So actually we have not come to multiple filters yet. So I don't know what who has asked this question and what he or she means by multiple filters. So what so
Sure,
far based on,
you can go ahead.
so yeah, I'll go ahead and then I'll come back to this question in that case.
Sure, sure.
So what we do is that so in this picture, I have shown one hidden layer neuron which is connected to a receptor field which is 5 by 5 from the input side, right? So you can imagine similar thing happening for each and every neuron on the hidden layer. So what this second idea does is shared weight and bias is that we do design of neural network in such a way that each and every receptor field or each and every neuron in the hidden layer has same set of weights and bias. Let's see how. So suppose left hand side is input layer, right hand side is first hidden layer, right? And orange is one example of receptor field. The receptor field is connected to a particular neuron in the input layer. So now suppose, just as an example, this receptor field has 9 weights, right? 3 into 3, 9 weights. So suppose these are the 9 weights, and there is a one bias which is 0.5, just as an example. Okay, so what we do is that no matter what receptor field you have, programmatically we ensure that second receptor field, which is this, also has exactly same set of weights and bias. So this is the second idea in CNN. So first idea is local receptor field. Second idea is have same set of weights and bias for each and every receptor fields. How does it help? So it has actually very, very profound impact. Let's see how. So what it does is, see the bold part in the bottom, this one. So what it does is that each and every receptor field identifies the same feature because they have same weights and bias, right? So it is impossible that one receptor field will identify here and another receptor field will identify nose. Impossible, correct? So by making sure programmatically that each and every receptor field has exactly same set of weights and bias, we force the neural network so far till this point of the explanation to identify only one feature. That's it. Okay. Another very profound impact of this idea is that this particular feature which we are identifying, it can be in any corner of the image, input image. So if nose is on the top right corner, still it will be able to identify because of this receptor field, we keep moving across whole of image. Same receptor field keeps moving across whole of image. So wherever that particular feature is, it will get picked up by our neural network. But so far, whatever we have seen in the design, only one feature will be identified. I hope this concept is clear. Okay, so first one, local receptor field. Second one, shared weight and bias, to make sure that we identify only one, exactly one, whichever it is, we don't care, but only one feature it identifies. Let's see next now. So how does it look? So at a very high level, left hand box is input neurons, 28 by 28 picture representation. And on right hand side, we see one first layer of this one is first layer of hidden neuron. But remember, I just said it identifies only one feature. So only one feature, one, nothing more. So that is why we need to have multiple sets of first hidden layer. So this is still first hidden layer, but we have three sets of a set of three hidden first hidden layer. So first one will identify one feature, second one will identify another feature, third one will identify another feature. Okay, so if again same example, if you have a face and your judgment says face has 20 features, nose, eyes, eyebrows, blah blah blah, then you should have 20 such a stack of first layer. For the first top box on the right, which identifies one feature, weights and bias will be same for all the local receptor field. Similarly, for this one, weights and bias will be different than the top one, but same within its own. Similarly, third one will have another set of weight and bias of its own. So each of these layers here, this part, each of these layers will identify one fun feature each. Okay, hope this is clear now. So we'll go to the next one. Sorry, again. So finally, what happens is the pooling idea. So we have seen local receptor field, which tries to build a spatial feature into it, shared weights and bias, which forces the neural network one particular um, layer within the one particular group within the first layer to identify only one feature. So you have multiple groups to identify multiple features. And then third one is called pooling. Pooling is very simple. So what it does is it summarizes a particular, so let me just draw again. So if you have this, which is a result of shared weight and bias and local receptor field, it gets summarized into a smaller set of neurons. So we call it pooling. We pool, let's say, 4 pixels from here, and we connect those pixels to this particular. We connect these neurons to this particular neurons. So instead of having too many neurons, we pool them into a smaller set of neurons. The idea here is that instead of going into too much of detail of each and every pixels, we should abstract it. Another idea is that it makes little life easier, makes the training little faster because we have now a small number of neurons to deal with. So let me try to answer this question which was before. Vishal, can you tell me the question again?
How do multiple filters help?
Okay. So, so there are filtering is happening now at 2 levels, if you see. So first level filtering is happening when, so one second. So first level filtering we are doing is when we convert a DNN into, when we introduce local receptor field. So this neuron, this single neuron sees only this part and tries to identify a feature such as window frame or curtain or a straight line or a horizontal line only in this area. So instead of this neuron getting connected to this part and getting bogged down by this part of the image, it focuses only on this part. So it will be in a better position to identify, and it will identify more precisely the feature present within its own receptor field. Receptor field, as name suggests, is field of vision, right? When we see what we see. So that's a field of vision. So for this neuron, this is a field of vision. It sees only there, ignores other aspects. So it is able to more precisely identify feature within its own field of vision. So this is one level of filtering which is happening, which helps in focusing on a particular part of image and identify a feature more precisely compared to when you focus on whole image, right? The second part of filtering will happen. Let me go to next one. So when I introduced shared weight and bias, I told that we make sure that each and every receptor field has same set of weights and bias. Therefore, we force neural network of this first hidden layer to identify only one feature. So this is second level of filtering which is happening, where we are forcing the neural network programmatically for the first hidden layer to identify only one feature. So it will do a much better job in identifying that feature than this hidden layer trying to identify 10 features, right? So we are making the first layer more specialized. Therefore, we are hoping that it will do a better job of identifying a feature. So hope that clarifies.
So people are saying awesome explanation. Thank you.
Excellent, guys. So let me go back to our flow again. So we were here, I think. No, we did pooling. So first one, local receptor field. Second one, shared weight and bias. And third one, we pool to abstract things, then keep it too much of detail, and also fasten the training process. So pooling is a little simpler aspect. So these three together, local receptor field, shared weights and bias, and pooling, combined together, bring in aspect of spatial dimension, right? So related to a space. And that is what makes CNN, convolutional neural network, much more successful in identifying faces. So this is how finally a CNN looks like. So you have on the left 28 by 28 image the input layer of neurons. Then you have 24 by 24 convolutional layer of neuron, and this 20 is means 20 stack. So this is 20 stack, right? 20 such layers will be there. Why? Because the designer thinks that there are 20 different features present in the image, which he or she wants to identify. So he or she has designed 20 such stacks, this 20, and this 24 by 24 is this 24 by 24. Okay, and then there is a pooling layer, which, as I said, it's simpler concept just to abstract things. Finally, this pooling layer is flattened into one single stack of neurons, and then 10 neurons. As an example, we are taking an example of 10 classifications, so 10 output neuron, which will tell us what kind of object it is. So vis-a-vis a DNN, CNN looks very different here, and it does, much better job. So let's now again go back to our flow. This is another view of CNN where you have input layer, then this is convolutional layer. It is also called feature map. Why it is called feature map? Because each part of this layer detects one feature each. Okay, and then further pooling, convolution. So typically the way it is designed is a pair of convolution and pooling, and finally it is flattened and an output is created. So I think there is some more question. Okay, yeah, I'll speed up now. So we started from a basic neural network. On the left, we came to DNN, and then finally we saw CNN at a conceptual level, how it works better. So this ends the ML part, machine learning part. Now I will go to image processing. In interest of time, I will have to rush through. That was the objective. I wanted to keep it in the end so that even if we should not compromise on CNN, image processing is little simpler aspect. So what we do in image processing is first we deal with color. Before we feed into CNN, a color is having RGB image. It can have HSV format. It can be in a black and white or grayscale format. So what we do is generally we deal with grayscale format before we feed an image into CNN. Obvious reason is because grayscale has only one layer, and each pixel will be from 0 to 255, right? Now, next what we do is something called binarization, where again, for the sake of ease in CNN, instead of feeding 0 to 255 for each pixel, it is better to feed 0 and 1 for each pixel. So we binarize. So each image is, we use a threshold. There are various techniques to binarize. So if original image is, see here, this Sudoku, and so this is what is the original image. And before we feed into original image, we do some binarization, and this is what goes into CNN. So CNN performs much better if we give this image as an input than this image as an input. Then there are some sort of transformation. So you see this invoice, it's rotated. So detecting the angle is a big deal in image processing, not that not that easy. So we detect the rotation, the angle, we rotate the image. Rotate is also not that easy, and it's quite CPU intensive. And there's something called perspective transform, where if you see this, this line is curved, we make it as straight as possible. So CNN will work better for this image and not so well for this image. So before we feed into CNN, we do these kind of transforms. This is filtering or blurring. So it may seem counter intuitive, but blurring the image helps CNN. So you see this blurred image on the right. So there are techniques to blur image. What happens when you blur the image is that a lot of low level details get merged. So these grasses are now no more grass, correct? So what happens is CNN, instead of trying to identify and get totally bogged down by identifying grasses or features of grasses, it will take this as a simple color. Whereas on one hand, it blurs low level detail, it still preserves high level detail, which is a boy. So CNN works much better if you have blurred image, but a lot of experiments required. Don't take this as always, it will always work. Don't not assume that. Then there is something called erosion and dilation. So if you have, you're trying to identify balls which are touching each other. So from there to here, from here to here, we make them separate, right? So that CNN works much better. This is called erosion technique. And opposite of erosion is nothing but we remove outer one layer or two layer of pixels from a pattern and create a thinner pattern. That's erosion. So output of erosion is called dilation. In dilation, as you can see, there is a glow in a bulb here. So you can see slight glow in a bulb, and that glow has become more prominent after we do dilation. So this also helps in certain situation. There are all these techniques. It's must for if you want to become a computer vision engineer, you need to know all of these must. The good thing is that you don't need to get into detail of these. There are libraries available in Python which you can use. Let's go to the next one, which is called edge detection. So what it does is, you can see there is a document on a table, and we are able to detect the edge of the document. So it uses gradient methodology to detect edge of the document. So these are, when you see a image face detection or character detection in a practical life, you will not get a very good image. You'll see an image on a table kind of situation, right? So this is where it helps. Similarly, there is a line detection which is called Huff line transform. So it helps us in identifying lines. So if you have a document and you are trying to use CV to read the document, you need to identify those lines. There is a technique called Huff line transform, which helps you do that. So what Huff line transform does is little bit of mathematics here. If you know Cartesian coordinate and polar coordinates, so if you convert from Cartesian coordinate to polar coordinates, a line becomes a dot. Okay, so this line is a line in a Cartesian coordinate, has become a dot in a polar coordinate. This line is a line in a Cartesian coordinate. If you convert to polar coordinate, it has become a dot. So by converting, what Huff line transform broadly at a very high level does is convert from Cartesian to polar, and then it finds where is the big dot, and we know that there is a line there. So we can find the equation of the line. So using that equation, you can do a lot of processing before you feed the data into CNN. Similarly, there is something called contour detection. So contour is a bounded box. So it's like a detecting a line, but in a bounded area. So this helps us a lot in finding area of interest where we want to pay more attention to in doing the, let's say, document reading. So these are a couple of references. I think I'm done. Little bit rushed in the second half of the presentation, but this first one is a very interesting website. There is a lot of mathematics in it, but a lot of concept as well. So if you have interest and time, please do visit that. It's a very good site. Second section, which I refer to as a simple OpenCV documentation. So I think I'm done. So any question which address?
Thank you, Amit. So, audience, any questions you have? Audience, any questions you have? So I don't see any questions coming here. So
Fine. So thank you so much. My email is here on the screen. You can contact me. If you want to contact me, please do mention that it is in reference to this particular session.
So one question is there, Amit.
Sure.
Color 256 slide, could you explain once?
Color
Once again.
256.
Rest people are saying very nicely explained. Thank you for the informative session. Many thanks for the really good presentation. Awesome explanation. Thank you. So,
Thank you very much. Yeah.
if you can explain that slide again, please.
So to color 256. Okay. I think this is the one which this is the one. Is this the slide he or she is talking about?
Possibly. Possibly.
Okay.
Gentlemen, if you can respond yes or no, or if you can tell other slide. Yes, he's saying yes.
Okay. So a color image is represented internally within computer system in several formats. So one format is called RGB, which is red, green, blue. So if you see this right side, this side is RGB format representation of color. Why it is represented in RGB is because using different combination of red, green, blue, we can create any color we want to. So if you see red 0.392, green 0.169, and blue 0.306, if you combine these three together, you get a specific color. So any color you want, you can create just by changing these RGB values. This is one way computer stores color image, and this format is called RGB format. But there are many other ways also computer stores RGB format. So one example is this one. This is called HSV format. HSV format. So here, instead of storing RGB values, we store hue, saturation, and value format. So this hue, saturation, value formats is another most used format in dealing with color images. So without getting into HSV detail, so what happens is that if you recollect the CNN model has an input layer of neurons. The one neuron takes one input from an input image, correct? So if you have a color image, right, like this, let's say RGB color image. So input side itself, you have 3 layers instead of 1 layer. So we have 2 choices. One choice is either you make your CNN to accept 3 different layers of input at the input layer itself, right? The second choice you have is that you combine the 3 RGB image, you convert this RGB image into grayscale image. This is not black and white. This is called grayscale image. So if you convert this, now this one I will explain a little later, will have much simpler format than RGB format from CNN point of view. So the first option, if you exercise, you create 3 layers of input neurons in CNN. You make the CNN much more complex, right? So unless there is a very valid reason why you want to use color image as an input to CNN, this is not a good idea why you should use it in CNN. A better idea is to use a grayscale image, which makes the CNN design much more simpler. Why? Because this grayscale image will have only one two-dimensional matrix representation. So it will have only, instead of 3 RGB, it will have only something like this. And it will have values from 0 to 255. So this will be 0 to 255. Any value between 0 to 255 it will have. Why it has 0 to 255? Simply because it's a 1 byte. 1 byte can store up to 256 values, which is 0 to 255, right? So that's why it can store.
So another counter question is there, Amit. One gentleman is saying, although I put it on the chat also.
Okay.
One gentleman is saying how to identify color in a picture. So if, example, a particular object should have only red color, but in an image that object has different color, say green or blue. How do we identify the color using OpenCV? Your presentation says features are expected by converting color image to grayscale.
Right. So if you want to identify color in OpenCV, right? Is it for the purpose of converting to grayscale? Is that what the question is? So I assume that is what the question is.
No, so how to? No, so how to identify color defects in the image?
Color defects in the image. Okay, not color.
Not color. Color defects.
Not color. Okay, that's a totally different area. So there are. So let me give you one idea how you can identify a defect, not just color defect, any defect in an image. So what happens is when you have a natural image, the color changes in X direction or in Y direction gradually. You will not find abruptness in color values when you move from one end of X-axis to another end of X-axis or one end of Y-axis to another end of Y-axis. The values will move gradually. That is how natural world works. If you want to identify a defect in an image, whether color or black and white doesn't matter, what you have to find is you have to calculate is the gradient. So for each move you make in one direction, X-axis left, for example, you calculate gradient. If gradient is very high, you can judge that there is something wrong there. This is a broad idea how you can identify defect in an image. Hope that answers.
Okay. So in interest of time, we would like to close here. If anybody has any questions, they can send it to him directly or through us, and we'll be happy to respond. Thank you all for attending. I hope all of you are keeping safe, and thank you, Amit, for the presentation. It was pretty in-depth one, and
thank you so much,
look
everybody.
forward to more
Thank you,
such
Vishal.
sessions in future.
Sure. Thank you, Vishal, for opportunity, and thank
Have a
you
nice day.
everybody who attended. Appreciate it. Bye.